Hi everybody, Dr. Brian Hooten here once again, founder of Hooten Family Healing Center in Dallas, Texas. We are a certified maximized living facility and I am excited today. We've got such a hot topic. It's all about blood pressure. If you are struggling with this thing medically called hypertension, this video is for you. If you know somebody, if you're one of our families under care and you know somebody that needs to watch this video, this is exactly why I'm making them, so we can reach out and try and help. This is a devastating condition, and these people are given drugs and they're not told anything about it, what the long-term consequences are, including things like dementia. So we're going to go through three things in order for you to get out of this condition called high blood pressure. Three things you need to know and apply. Okay, so my family has been devastated with this. You know, my grandmother, who many of you know, went through Alzheimer's in the last 10 to 15 years of her life. And one of the medications she started with decades before all that was blood pressure and blood thinners, things like aspirin. And nobody really telling my family what the long-term consequences of just taking medications are. So we fell into the same trap. My dad, in his 50s and 60s, was taking multiple medications. He had 2 medications for blood pressure, a cholesterol drug and a diabetes drug. So we are very familiar with these medications. If you're going through something like this, please understand my passion is to try and help you. I'm not angry at you at all. I'm angry at the system because it failed my grandmother. It was failing my dad. It would have failed me had we not stepped in and learned these 3 things and then started applying them, and we've conquered that. My dad is off of both those blood pressure medications 10 years ago, and he's doing great. Does his blood pressure go up to 140 something? Sure. Does it come back down? Yes, like it's supposed to. So I'm going to go through things like that. Just this morning in my office, we had a 60-year-old guy. He's been off his blood pressure medicines for a month. And we had a 66-year-old young lady who's been off her blood pressure medicines. So you can't conquer this. This isn't the unreachable thing. You just have to want to do it. So here are your 3 things. The first thing is to understand what a blood pressure medicine is actually doing. And along the same lines, I'm going to tell you what the second thing is. What is blood pressure? What does that mean? So we're going to cover these first 2 things together. Okay, so basically your heart is this big muscle, and I'm going to use simple terms. I'm going to keep it elementary. If you are a veteran in this field, if you know a lot about blood pressure and physiology and that type of thing, just understand I'm making this simple, short, and sweet. Heart, big muscle right here. Its job is to pump blood everywhere. Well, what is it actually pumping in the blood? What's actually in the blood? This is important. The oxygen is in your blood. All the nutrients that your body needs throughout your body are transported via your bloodstream. So this is very important. And then your veins bring your blood back to your heart. Okay, so when your body needs more nutrients, specifically oxygen is your number 1 nutrient. When your body needs more nutrients, for example, if a bear comes running through this window right here, I'm going to take off running that way. My blood pressure is going to go up crazy because my brain is telling my heart, listen, man, we got to pump harder. We got to get more nutrients and a lot of oxygen everywhere. We got to get this adrenaline everywhere throughout the body so we can move quickly. That's an example of how your brain is controlling your blood pressure. It is always controlling your blood pressure. Here's why. It has sensors up there. Your brain knows when it needs oxygen. So when you're running low on oxygen up in your brain, through your nervous system, through a specific nerve, your brain talks to your heart and says, hey, Mr. Heart, I need more oxygen. Start pumping a little harder to get oxygen back up to my brain. That's a very basic understanding of why blood pressure goes up. It's only going to go up because your brain tells it to. That's what you need to take out of that. So the actual number, whatever your numbers may be, the 140 over 90, 200 over 120, whatever the case is, that number is your brain telling your heart to do that on purpose. That is physiology 101. I don't care who you talk to in the medical field or in the therapeutic field or whatever. That is how your body works. Your brain tells your heart to pump harder to get oxygen and nutrients throughout the body, specifically back up to the brain. And how many of you know your brain needs oxygen? So if you're sitting there and your blood pressure is high, 180 over something, 120, 130, Now you know that it's your brain telling your heart to do that. Well, if you leave it there, are you at risk of an artery exploding? Perhaps. At 220 over 150, are you at more risk of an artery exploding? Perhaps. But I will tell you this. If you take a drug to lower that blood pressure, you'll artificially trick your body, and there's 5 or 6 different ways that drugs can do that. If you trick your body, you are going to starve your brain. Listen to this. You're going to starve your brain of nutrients, especially oxygen. Now, how many of you know that would be a bad thing? That you cannot starve your brain from oxygen and think it's okay. It's the most important nutrient. If you stop breathing, your brain is dead in 8 minutes. You've got to keep that oxygen flowing up to your brain. So taking a drug is doing nothing more than robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's like a check engine light on your car, and you're taking a hammer to that check engine light so you don't see it, and you're creating more damage and destruction. You drive down the road, more things happen to your engine. Taking a drug is not an answer. It's just a temporary, it's like a cap on a volcano, and ladies and gentlemen, it is going to explode. You cannot just rely on a drug. You've got to get to the bottom of this and make it easier on your heart to pump throughout your body. So there's a basic understanding of blood pressure, basic understanding of why you can't just take a drug and think you're getting away with it, because you're not. If you starve your brain from oxygen long enough, you are asking for Alzheimer's. You are asking for dementia. You're asking for God knows what else, depression, anything else. And that's one thing I don't want to put my family through. I don't know about you, but I'm not putting them through Alzheimer's if it's anything that I have done. Okay, so now, how do you get your body, if you were to come and see me, how would we help you? Well, you have to understand the rules. Number one, when you come and see me, I am not going to look at you and try and treat your blood pressure. I can't fix blood pressure. I'm not going to treat blood pressure. What I'm going to do is get your body, and what all of our offices do, is we get your body efficient so that your blood pressure normalizes on its own, whatever that may be. Now, I'll tell you a little bit of history about blood pressure numbers. 40 years ago, they used to say that 150 over 100 was acceptable. Then the drug companies did testing, and they decided that let's take that number down to 140 over 90, and instantly made 5 million more customers. And then here recently, they've said that anything above 120, you got to take a drug, you got to take a drug. That is just ridiculous. We can't do that. Whatever normal is for you, that's what you want to establish, because you want to keep your brain fully oxygenated. Okay, so the number one thing, so those are your other two things, but the number one thing you can do is you have to come in and get your spine checked. Think about this. Your brain and your spinal cord and all those nerves going to your heart. If you cut off those nerves, what happens to your heart immediately? If we lined up 100 cardiologists and we asked them what happens to a heart when you cut off the nerves between the brain and the heart, what do they say? It's instant heart stoppage. That equals death. You want to think of your nerves as the power cord, the power supply between your brain and your heart. That's a really easy way to look at it. Well, if your brain isn't getting to your heart like it's supposed to, in other words, it's not getting full power, now it's going to malfunction. There's going to be some type of problem with the heart, whether it's blood pressure or an irregular heartbeat, so on and so forth. You have to establish this flow first. Now, there's all kinds of supplementation. There's food things you need to take into account. I've got a whole video series you should go back and watch on what to eat, how to eat. We've got beginner videos on that. We'll be doing advanced videos on that. None of that's going to matter if your brain and your heart aren't talking at 100%. In order to get that working, in order to get it cooking, you have to come and see somebody like us. We represent less than half of 1% of all the spine specialists out there, chiropractors or otherwise. You have to come in and see us. We will explain everything. We'll do an exam. We'll take the x-rays that we need to. We'll measure down to the millimeter and degree to see how your spine is doing, to see if there's any interference in there. We have terms that we'll walk you through. We'll give you ownership of what your spine is doing. And just to touch on that, there was a research paper in 2006, and you can look this up on WebMD. WebMD, if you plug in www.webmd.com and plug in chiropractic cuts blood pressure, you will see a study done at the University of Chicago where they adjusted this group of people and, in other words, took pressure off of their spine, allowing their brain and their body to start working. And guess what? Their blood pressure normalized better than taking 2 medications. This is out there waiting for you. This type of life is waiting for you. If you want to be well, you have to start taking care of your spine. If you are under care already, how long do you want to be healthy? So guess how long you need to be taking care of your spine. Eat right, exercise, do all the good things. We'll show you how to do all that, but take care of yourself. Thank you for watching. God bless you guys. Remember who you are and who made you and what you're capable of.